Hey Internet. Now, it's been a while before I've just talked to your faces about random game news and stuff in the industry in general, so let's do that. I promise. This has nothing to do with the fact that I procrastinated on the video that I'm going to post this weekend and that I'm not nearly as far along in the editing process as I should be. Nope. Nothing to do with that at all. Okay. So, the first thing we're going to talk about actually just happened today. By today, I mean the day that I'm filming this, which will almost assuredly not be the day that it's posted, again, because of editing and procrastination. But E3, that big convention thing that happens every year, posted an article on their Twitter, which painted women unfavorably. Basically, it was an article that said, hey, here are the 25 games that women really enjoy playing. Which, first of all, is just a stupid article anyway, because at this point, male and female gamers are all playing the same things. You don't even really need that article. You could just say, hey, here's 25 popular games that are being played right now. But they decided that they needed to specify what games women were playing. And then they put together a horrible list. Mostly it's all like Candy Crush and The Sims and Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing and Bejeweled. And you see a trend here. It reads like a list from 2005 when companies first realized that, hey, girls can play video games if we make them really casual and colorful and basic. And I mean, even back then it was wrong and stupid, but in today's world that was a major mistake. Now, E3 did, of course, get called out of this instantly by many people, myself included, because that's ridiculous. And they have since taken the post down. It took them 4 hours, but they did take it down. And most people aren't going to forgive them, because it's just ridiculous that it even got posted. And their apology was very unenthusiastic and, oh, hey, we shouldn't have posted that. It perpetuated some stereotypes, and we're gonna do better. Yeah, but why did it get posted? Where's the accountability? Who posted that? Who oversaw your social media platform, saw that article, which they themselves didn't even write, so it was never vetted or anything. But someone saw that and said, yeah, no, it's fine, post this. This is appropriate in the post-Me Too era. Let's signal female gamers specifically and then falsely attribute them to casual, phone-based cartoon games. Overall, it was bad. It was really, really bad. So that's a thing that happened, and people are now even less than they were already looking forward to E3 next year. I'm going to move on. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is a KickStarter campaign. It's for a game called Ralph's Adventure Aztec Mystery. I don't know why I keep wanting to rearrange those words, but that's the name of it. The trailer is probably already playing on screen right now, although I didn't leave a lot of real estate, so maybe it played before I said these things that I'm saying right now, in which case you've already seen it and you're not currently watching it, and none of this is relevant. I'm just wasting camera time. This is a game being developed for the PC and potentially eventually being developed for the Switch and Vita as well. And it's also getting a physical release, although currently I will point out that the physical release appears to only be for the PC version, not the console releases. I may have been a little overzealous and bashed the game regardless, because I thought the physical was for the consoles, but it's fine. Basically, the game looks like, as you would have or are currently seeing from the trailer, Star Tropics for the NES, which was a great RPG. And actually, if you listen to the trailer music, it kind of sounds like Star Tropics. Here's Star Tropics for a comparison. See, a very similar vibe. At least that's what I got. Maybe I'm crazy. But overall, it kind of looks and sounds like Star Tropics to me. And that is absolutely a good thing. Star Tropics is one of the better RPGs for the NES, or the entire 8-bit era for that matter, and it's just a legitimately good game. And this looks like it will be also. So I'm excited. So yeah, if you have a couple extra bucks that you don't know what to do with, which I know most people don't right now, but if you somehow do, I would say go back this. It looked good and interesting, and it should be fun. Plus, now more than ever, if people can afford to do so, we really need to be trying to fund the indie developers and backers as much as we can, because these guys need the money. Like, the AAA studios, they're doing fine. They're excelling. But these other guys, a lot of them develop in their spare time or as a side hustle. This is not their main deal. So, if there's any way we can give them money to make sure stuff like this keeps happening, we owe it to the industry to do it. And speaking of, here's another Kickstarter game. I swear, I don't make these videos just to push Kickstarters on you guys. I just find things that I'm excited about and assume you might be too. And by you, I mean the nobody that I'm talking to, because, let's be honest, no one's watching these. It's really just me talking at a camera because I have no friends. But anyway, there's another game called The Girl from Arcania? Arcania. Yes, I think that's right. It might not be right, but I think that's right.
Come on, Cappy, let's go!
Anyway, it's a game that is like a top-down adventure puzzle, I guess, basically it's Link to the Past. But you're a girl, and you have a capybara, so it's, I almost said better than Link to the Past, and that's a heck of a thing to say, but it looks really, really good. Again, this one is being developed for the PC and also for Switch, Xbox One, and PS4. And again, this one is getting physical release, but currently it's only planned for the PC version. Although, I've talked to these guys, and they have said that they're looking into physical releases on the consoles. They just don't have it buttoned down 100% one way or the other yet. So, if I hear a response, I'll let y'all know, but as of filming this, I have not yet gotten an update. And I'm sure Editor Me will chime in when this does eventually get edited and posted. But honestly, I'm willing to break my physical-only rule for this game, and the last one too, for that matter, just because it looks really cool. I love Zelda. Everyone loves Zelda, really. And this looks a lot like a Zelda game, but with a capybara that you can pet and play with. How is that not amazing? It is. That's the answer. And also, if you back it at a high enough level, you can get a large capybara-themed body pillow that looks way too sensual. Yeah, I know the image is on screen, so you're looking at it. I don't know how to feel about that, and I'm not sure I like how y'all are going to feel about me having that in my game collection, but that's a thing. So, yeah. And now that I've covered a couple Kickstarters, I'll move on to actual news things again. This one is Fortnite. Everyone loves Fortnite, except for me, because I don't care about shooters or crafty type games for the most part. And this is both of those with cel-shaded cartoon-ish graphics that I also don't care for, so really nothing about this game appeals to me. But it appeals to everyone else and is wildly successful. In fact, last year alone, it made a little over $1.5 billion with a B dollars. So it's a big deal. And that's why it was very surprising when it was pulled from the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. However, if you look into what Fortnite did just before that happened, it's not that surprising. See, they decided to violate the terms of service of the app stores by adding a new feature in the game where you could convert your real-world currency to in-game whatever directly through the game, completely bypassing the app stores on either OS. This is very much against terms of service. Now granted, the reason this is against terms of service is because some less scrupulous developers might put in a feature like this to try and steal your money and not provide you with a receipt or proof of purchase, so there's no possible way to get a refund. Or they might use this as a way to open a channel for communications and then introduce viruses or malware. There's just lots of reasons why you definitely don't want this to happen. You want any kind of financial transactions to go through the App Store. It's more official, it's more regulated, it's the way things run. More importantly, that's what the contract says when you agree to become a developer on the platform. Epic knew this, they just decided they were going to violate this anyway. And they also knew what the repercussions would be, because as soon as they were kicked off the app stores, people found out they were very ready for that to happen, as they way too quickly had response video plans and also filed lawsuits against both Apple and Google. Now, the lawsuits obviously are not going for damages because they lose. They violated terms of service. They're absolutely 100% in the wrong. They have no ground to stand on. What they're instead doing is trying to demand that Apple and Google change their policies. And again, they're in the wrong. They have no footing here. So legally, I don't know that this will get them far. However, as I mentioned earlier, Fortnite was very successful and also very popular. So right now, they have the court of public opinion on their side, and people are basically all kinds of up in arms against both Google and Apple, saying, hey, why won't you let developers do this? And the reason why they don't is what I mentioned earlier, that there could be lots of bad actors that would take advantage of that. However, it will be interesting to see how this plays out. Again, legally, there doesn't seem to be much of a ground for Epic and Fortnite here. They were 100% in the wrong. They violated the terms of the agreement that they signed on for. You have to follow those. That's why contracts exist. That's how law works. But at the same time, can Google and Apple really afford to take not just the financial hit, but the publicity and good standing hit of not having this game on their platform anymore? We'll see, I guess. It's definitely going to be interesting either way it plays out, and will probably have long-lasting effects and set some precedents for further actions in the development of mobile apps. I mean, if this works and they get their way, then we're going to see tons of apps that are going to have in-app purchases completely separate from the App Store, and they can't do anything about it. They set a precedent that said it's allowed. On the other side, if they don't allow it and they tell Fortnite, no, change it back or don't be on our platforms, we'll see if they're going to lose massive amounts of gamers, if Epic tries to launch their own OS, similar to how they launched something to rival Steam. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of things that could happen, no one knows yet, but at least now you know. Or you know as much as I know, which is as much as I care to learn, because again, I don't really care about Fortnite. But let's move on to a very happy, cheery, uplifting topic. Animal Farm. Now I kid, that's not cheery at all. That's a George Orwell book about a bunch of animals that overthrow their farmer and try to take over their farm and, rule it their own way, as basically an equivalent to the humans that were there prior. And of course, this goes the way all governments and overthrows and any kind of utopia goes. Corruption takes hold, and it ends up with the animals being just as greedy and horrible as the humans were, and some people die along the way, and it's just this whole big thing. And I mention this classic piece of literature because it's also going to now be a video game.
All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Orwell's Animal Farm.
I don't know how to feel about that yet. Clearly it's probably not going to be an open world RPG. My guess is it would be similar to like a Telltale game, where mostly it's a visual novel. You're playing through the story and get to maybe make some choices along the way. And they have said in the tiny teaser that exists out there and the tiny bits of information that exist around it, that the story in the game can change or be influenced based on which characters you decide to follow or ignore throughout the game. So it does seem like it might be a visual novel. That being said, this could still be really interesting. Animal Farm is a great piece of literature. Lots of people have to read it for school projects because of how good it is and how thought-invoking it can be. So I'll be curious to see how that translates to a game. And also, if it does well, I'll be curious to see if this sets a precedent for having more classic pieces of literature adapted into video games. I mean, granted, back in like the 360 PS3 era, we did get Dante's Inferno, which obviously is part of the Divine Comedy, but I would be curious to see if we got more literature in general. You know, let us get Moby Dick, or The Telltale Heart, or any other stories, really. I mean, this could be cool. This could open up some doors. Okay, but now for something that is legitimately more cheery. It looks like there was a leak. And I know usually that's a negative thing, but this time it's kind of cool because it looks like the roster for the Marvel's Avengers game from Square Enix, there's a lot of extra characters than the ones that were originally announced, and those were leaked. People went through the data, also known as data mining, and they found a dozen or so characters that were not previously mentioned. And that's why I have my phone here, because I have not memorized all of the ones that were listed, so I'm going to read them. The ones that were found so far, it looks like, are Ant-Man, Wasp, Vision, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Falcon, Marvel, Mockingbird, Quake, Winter Soldier, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, Kate Bishop, She-Hulk, and War Machine. Now those are all pretty exciting. A lot of them are from the MCU already, at least half of them, and She-Hulk has an upcoming TV series which will also be part of the MCU. And actually Kate Bishop, while she hasn't been shown as a superhero in that kind of capacity, she has been shown to be a character, and they're kind of setting her up to do like the new Young Avengers thing. Hopefully with Ant-Man's daughter, who is also now the correct age to play Cassie. Stature, that's the name. So it'd be great to see these characters show up and maybe prompt some more interest in them so that we then do get them in the MCU in their comic capacity. But actually, the part I'm most excited for here is Quake. Only because Quake was one of the major characters in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and for some reason that show, despite being spawned from the movies, never translated back to the MCU. So changes that happened in the MCU were always reflected in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but things that happened in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. never went back to the MCU, and they really should have. Forgot how to speak there, don't know what happened, but they really should have. So it would be great to see Quake show up, and again, just build some more fandom around this character, and hopefully we'll see that transfer back to the movies. The actress who played Quake in the TV show, and I do not know her name at the moment because I'm terrible with names, and I didn't do my research properly, but she killed it in that role. So it would be really cool to see her cross the line into the MCU, and now that they have Fox and they have mutants, which I guess she is, I'm not really sure how that works. It was Terrigenesis, so I think that's how they got around mutants. But either way, it'd be cool to see her show up in the movies if this leads to that. That's what I'm trying to say. Also, Mockingbird was an interesting inclusion just because she hasn't really shown up anywhere yet. Technically, the character that Mockingbird is kind of in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. However, they never showed the superpower or superhero serum portion of her backstory in the show. And they also didn't mention that she was Hawkeye's ex or any of the usual backstory that exists in her comic iteration. So if they do bring her into the MCU due to her getting popularity through the game, I would be curious if they use the same actress from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and just tried to carry her forward, or if they rebooted the character entirely and just ignored her past. Although that would be hard to do if they did bring Quake in, because Quake obviously came in contact with her in the TV show, so now they've built this whole big rat's nest. But I'm getting really off topic talking about Marvel movies and TV shows, and now video games. Basically, what this means for games is there's a dozen new characters for this game that will probably be introduced in the form of a season pass or DLC packs, because that's unfortunately how video games work now. People don't just add content or create new content and release it as a surprise. They release DLC packs and make you pay more and more and more for a game that maybe could or should have had the content in the first place. But at any rate, I'm kind of excited. More content for this game that already looks pretty interesting, so yay. And now I'm going to talk about one last thing, and it's another Kickstarter. I know, I'm sorry. But again, these things just excite me and I want to share. So, I don't know. Just listen anyway. But this one is actually not a brand new one. It's one called Aiden Chronicle, or Aiden Chronicle. I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's probably on the screen somewhere, so you can try and read it for yourself. But basically, this is a big deal and was actually getting a little bit of media attention recently because this game just broke the $3 million mark for its funding. And it still has a week or so left as of filming this. So if you're interested in this, or the other two Kickstarters I mentioned for that matter, hurry up and go jump on board and put your money down so you can get your copy. But anyway, this game looks to be a JRPG, like a lot of JRPGs. I'm sure I already showed the clip after I said the name, so you saw a brief bit of it. But the big selling point on this one is it has over 100 playable characters, which sounds ridiculous, but also incredible. Because imagine the replay value of a game with over 100 playable characters. Also, because the game has gotten such large funding, it's had a lot of stretch goals unlocked. Currently, again, as of filming, and I'm sure my editor version of myself will update if needed, but we have gotten 26 stretch goals unlocked. That's quite a bit. So whatever the game was when it was initially conceived, it is now that plus a lot more. They've added more characters, they've added a lot of mini games, new game plus mode, language support for other countries and regions. Basically, this game is becoming kind of a big deal. And this game is being launched on all the consoles. Actually, no, I take that back. It's being launched on the PS4, Xbox One, the PS5, the Xbox Series X, which is still the stupidest name for a console, and whatever the sequel to the Switch is. It is not being released on the Switch. The reason they do this is because they want to make basically one game and then just port it across to all the consoles and have it look, feel, and play the same on every place. And right now, the Switch is just not up to snuff with the PS4 or Xbox One, and it certainly won't be up to snuff with the next two iterations, which are basically those consoles again, but even beefier performance-wise. So, that's how that works. But yeah, right now, like I said, they have a large amount of funding with a bunch of time left to unlock even more stretch goals because they have kept including more, and it sounds like they're going to keep building this game out until people stop throwing money at them. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. Luckily, with the amount of attention it's gotten because of the funding, people are really going to hold this one accountable. So it's most likely not going to turn into one of those Kickstarters that, you know, people talk about and then it kind of disappears. This got a lot of attention and a lot of money. I don't think they can get away with taking the money and running. Here, I think they're really going to have to deliver. So you should maybe back it, because this could maybe be really cool. And honestly, that's all I have to talk about at the moment. I mean, there's tons of things I could talk about, but this video is already long enough, and if anyone was watching this at the beginning, you've probably lost interest and left by now, so I'll just let this one go. If you are still here somehow, and if you actually exist, then hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I do have another review coming. Like I said, I just procrastinated. I didn't say that, because that's not a word, but I did procrastinate a little, and so the video might be late this weekend, but it might not, because it's not the weekend yet, and I still have time, so maybe I'll actually just hustle and get my stuff done. Either way, more videos on the way, and I hope you enjoyed this one. You can follow me on Twitter and do all the other crap, and also to counteract the negativity that E3 put in the world as far as female gamers are concerned, check out my friends over at Gaming Access Weekly. That is actually run and operated by a female gamer, and also has many females working on the staff. They do a great job with game news and game updates and just anything game related. So yeah, shout out to them. They're pretty awesome. And shout out to anyone else who plays games and also happens to have lady bits, because you're pretty cool. Okay, this is getting weird. I'm going to stop. Bye.